Hey, what's up, my good people? Troy Small here, coming at you today. So I wanted to talk a little bit, just really to talk shop, if you will, about the importance of having a strategy in this government contracting space. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of buzz around government contract. A lot of people, they have an idea about it. They know that there are some low barriers to entry in certain cases. There's some low hanging fruit. They know that if they can get their hustle on properly, that they could possibly pop them a contract, right? And I get it. I'm the same way. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't just happen, right? Um, like we're all used to having things happen quickly in this day and age because we push a button and stuff happens at our fingertips. But pushing a button is not going to make a contract happen at your fingertip. And so one of the things that's important to note, particularly when you're starting out, because you can save yourself really a whole lot of trouble, a lot of headache, and you actually may even speed up your efforts, is that it's important to have a strategy. So there's a lot of different ways that you may approach trying to win a contract, right? Competing for government contracts. But having a solid strategy and actually trying to stick with it and giving it a chance to work, or having a strategy where you're incrementally doing different things, right? But you have strategized, you have planned this out. I am going to do I'm going to do simplified acquisitions for a year, right? It doesn't mean you don't look for other stuff per se, or that you wouldn't bid on another contract. It just means that your primary focus for a year is simplified acquisitions. Anything else, it just happens to catch your attention, you catch wind of it. That's an exception, not the rule, as an example. But let's say you do that, and then maybe you say after that year, my goal is to have has some type of a significant win. Sorry, I gave a class earlier today, so my throat is not having it. It's actually late right now, so I'm dropping this video before I hit the rack. So, but let's say that you work in this strategy and you're going, you say you're going to go a year, you're going to do simplified acquisition, and then after that, your hopes is that within that time frame you land. Let's say your goal is, one contract at a certain dollar value, maybe, right? Or let's say you want to win two contracts, and your hope is that at least that each contract is 50,000, or each contract is $1 million, or 100,000, whatever it is for you, right? And if that happens, then the following year you say, then we're going to pivot into some other thing, right? Once we do that, then we're going to we're going to start bidding at this agency as well, because we know that this agency has slightly bigger contracts, or something to that effect, right? That's spitballing, but that's just kind of an example. But the point that I really want to make is that you got to have a path. If you're out here just being haphazard, you're like a plastic wrapper on a March April day. You're just blowing in the wind. There's no rhyme or reason. You can get caught on a bush and never move anywhere again. And it has nothing to do with you. It really has to do with the bush and the environment, which means that if that's the case, the bush is never going to move, and the environment is, we can kind of sort of predict it. So that means if we change ourselves, and if we use a strategy that's designed to help us to leap over the bush, right, to bypass environmental factors that could harm our business or slow us up, right? So we employ a strategy that helps us to mitigate the environment. So, like, mitigate the competition. What strategy might that be? Well, it may be, well, Troy, in my case, you are a service disabled veteran. So you go get your service disabled veteran on small business set aside, certification, and you compete for those set asides. So now we've reduced the competition from full and open competition down to a small business, right? And now even further from a small business to service disabled veteran owned small business competition only. So strategy is important. I mean, I can go on and on and on about different ways and techniques about how to do certain things in government contracting. It's really specific to what exactly the goal is, right? And what you're facing. And then that's how solutions begin to show themselves, at least from my vantage point, is because what's actually happening on the ground has a lot to do with how you resolve it or fix it or move it forward. So strategy is important. So just the main point I think I want to make here is that, if you're striving to be a government contractor and competing for contracts, take the time to, learn a strategy or figure out the fundamentals and learn a way of doing things. Learn a way of going about how you operate in government contracting. Like, what is the typical way of behaving, if you will, right? And the reason why that's important is because it will make your life much easier. Imagine, you trying to ride a bike on the freeway. That's not the way you're supposed to behave. You're supposed to be in the motor vehicle, not on a bike, right? That bike is going to cause problems for the person riding it, but it's also going to cause problems for the drivers because we're all going to freak out because we don't want to hit this person, right? So there we go. Have a strategy. Don't just use shotgun method, right? Just, have a plan, map it out, be thoughtful about what it is that you're trying to do, and you'll have more successes in your journey.